Today we are going to make some very yummy dinner rolls. I hope today we are going to make some very yummy dinner rolls. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you happen to make it, let me know what you thought of your rolls. Okay, so the first thing you're going to need to do is you need to get yourself a cup of milk and heat it up either in a saucepan or in your microwave to around 110 degrees. You will then add in 1/4 cup of white sugar and 2 1/4 tablespoons of yeast. And give that a mix together and let that yeast bloom. It'll take around 5 to 10 minutes. Now I am using instant yeast, so it will not take that long. But while we're letting our yeast bloom, we're going to put that off to the side. Put our dirty dishes away. Now we will need 3 1/2 cups of all-purpose flour and 1 teaspoon of salt. You will also need 1/4 cup of butter, softened. Now I make my own butter, so I did have to put it in a measuring cup. If you have stick butter, of course, measure it out that way and let it sit out and get room temperature, or soften it just a bit in your microwave. Okay. Now we're gonna wait to do the rest until our yeast has bloomed. So I'm going to put you guys on pause while I do a few other things here in the kitchen, and I'll come back as soon as my yeast is ready to go on to the next step. So, you see how frothy and bubbly our yeast looks here? That's what we're looking for. Now we can add our yeast and milk in with our flour, salt, and butter. We're also going to add in 1 egg. Now this is, you could use a KitchenAid stand mixer if you want. I don't have one, so I do mine like this. I just take a nice big fork and I go in and I mix it all together until it comes together roughly. And then I'll take it out of this bowl and knead it by hand on the countertop. Get everything off the sides. There we go. I really can't do much more in the bowl, so I'm going to dump it out onto my countertop. Make sure I get everything, or at least as much as I possibly can, from the bottom of the bowl. Don't want any of that good stuff to go to waste. You want it to become the biscuits or the rolls that we're trying to make. Alright, so now we're just going to finish kneading that all together, getting it all combined. There we go. Now it's roughly together. You can see that it's all choppy. a little sticky, which is good. Now we're gonna knead it between 5 and 8 minutes. It's just a little bit too sticky yet. So we're gonna add just a little bit of flour to the countertop. There we go. That's much better. What we want is our dough to come completely together and get nice and smooth. I said that'll take between 5 and 8 minutes of kneading. And you can do this in a stand mixer. If you have one available to you, it is a wonderful tool. All right, so that took about 5 minutes. And you see our dough is nice and smooth. So now what we're going to do is, some people do this inside the bowl. It is not easy for me to do inside the bowl, so I do it in my hands. I just tuck my dough in, make a nice little ball like so. Take about a teaspoon of olive oil. You can use vegetable oil if you want to. I prefer olive oil. I'm going to just oil up a nice clean bowl. There we go, like that. We're going to put our dough down to rest. And we're going to get out a piece of Saran wrap. Cover the top of our bowl up with that Saran wrap. There we go. Now we're going to take a towel and cover up that bowl with that towel as well. And now we're going to let that sit for 60 to 90 minutes until the dough ball has doubled in size. I will be back and show you what to do next as soon as mine has risen. Alright, so before we mess with our dough again, take a bit of butter and lightly butter your pan that you're going to put your rolls in. Bottoms and sides. It just helps to make sure that your rolls come out real simple, no fight, no fuss. There we go. So we're going to put that aside. That's not quite ready yet. And we're going to let that rest for a little bit longer. Alright, our dough has doubled in size. Take that off, punch it down. Alright, so we're going to take our dough and split it in half, and split it in half again. Take that other half, split it in half. Now we're going to take each of these 4 and bust those down into 3. Now this would probably be easier if you had one of the dough cutting tools. I don't have one. So this is how I do it. And we do rough estimates. There go. And there we go. So we have 12 bits of dough. Now we're going to take our pan that we buttered up, and we're going to take our dough bits and tuck them in, making a ball. So I like to put my hands over the top, or my fingers over the top, push down and then under, tuck it in with my other hand. That's just how I like to do it, but you form your balls however best suits you. And then once it's all nice and tucked in, place it in your pan. So like I said, I put my fingers on the top, push it around, and tuck it in. And do that a couple times until the top is nice and smooth, and we have a pretty little dough ball. There we go. Now spread them out so they have some room to grow. Take your piece of Saran wrap, cover your pan, and then of course take your towel and cover that pan up. Now we're going to let this rest and rise for another 45 minutes to an hour, depending, you know, on the temperature of your room and the type of yeast that you use. And we also will need to preheat our oven to 375 degrees when it's getting a little closer to time to put those in. All right, our dough has risen again, so we are going to remove our plastic wrap and pop this into our oven that has been preheated at 375 degrees. We're going to put these in for 12 to 15 minutes until they have a nice golden brown throughout. Go. So you will need a tablespoon and a half of melted butter for your last step, and a paintbrush for your kitchen. A basting brush, I believe is what it's called. And then just lightly go over the top of your buns with your basting brush and butter, just to add a bit of yum, yummy, yum. Go lay down, please. Sorry if you can hear the girls tippy-tapping around the kitchen. There we go. And if you want to have a little bit of seasoning with this, you can add a little bit of garlic or garlic powder or garlic salt, a little onion powder if you want. Since we are eating this with a rotisserie chicken and some mashed potatoes and whatnot, just a little bit of butter is more than fine for us. I am now going to dampen this towel and lay it over the top of my buns for about 15 to 20 minutes, just to make sure that they stay nice and soft. All right, you want a damp towel, not a, soaking wet towel. And just lay that over the top of your buns and let that rest for a little bit. Enjoy and I hope that you enjoy these rolls, and if you make this recipe, I'd love to hear about it. Until next time, keep crafting your happiness, my friends. Bye for now.